Lesson 42, Event Handler Macros. I gotta tell you, this is one of the coolest lessons in the whole thing. These event handler macros are unlike anything we've talked about. They're tiny little macros, or they could be tiny little macros, that run automatically in response to certain events. You can use these to change a cell as it's entered. You can use it to highlight the current row. You can use it to run a little bit of code when the workbook opens. Very, very cool. I can't wait to tell you about these. Let's get started. Okay, so my first experience with event handler macros came when a guy wrote into Mr. Excel and he said, hey look, I'm on an aircraft carrier and I'm working with Excel all day. I have to log every time that an aircraft either takes off or lands. And he says, the thing that drives me just insane is the colon. So if something happens at 23:15, if I didn't have to enter the colon, I could stay over on the numeric keypad and enter that very, very quickly. But the fact that I have to reach back, hit the shift key, hit the colon is just slowing me down immensely. If there was some way I didn't have to enter that colon, he said, life would just be perfect. Okay, and so I'm going to show you an amazing macro that will take care of putting in the colon for you. We're going to go to Visual Basic, but we're not going to do insert module like we've done in the past. Instead, we're going to write this macro code actually right on the worksheet where we want the thing to happen. So I'm going to come here to time log. We can either right click and choose view code, or you can just double click and you get a brand new code pane. Now, so far we haven't paid any attention to these two drop downs at the top, but with a event handler macro we have to do that. Go to the left drop down and there's only one item there. It's worksheet, so choose worksheet, and automatically you get this little bit of code, but we're going to ignore that for a second and go to the right side. These are all the events that we can capture on the worksheet, and so I'm interested in any change that happens to the worksheet. So I choose change in the right drop down and I get a brand new bit of code here, private sub worksheet change, and they're giving me an argument. The argument is called target. Target is a range, and basically this is a variable that represents the value that was just changed. All right, so as an example, what we can do is say this time equals target dot value, and then we can say select case the length of this time. Think about that. If they would enter 123, that would be 1:23 a.m. It's a 3-digit number. After we get past noon, though, they're going to be entering, 4-digit numbers like 13, 15. And so if the case 3, in the case of 3, what we have to do is say new time is equal to the left of this time, comma 1, an ampersand, and then in quotes a colon, an ampersand, and the right of this time, comma 2. Case 4, if he types a 4-digit number. All right, in that case, the new time is the left 2 digits and a colon and then the right 2 digits. If it's anything else, we don't necessarily know what they're doing, so we're not going to change anything at all. Case else, new time is equal to this time. And select. Okay, and conceptually what we can do now is say that we're going to change the target. So target dot value is equal to new time. All right, so the person sits down, they go to the worksheet, they type 1, 2, 3, 4. This event macro is going to grab that entry and change it to 1, 2, colon 3, 4, and just like right before their eyes, like magic, that colon's going to appear. Absolutely amazing. All right, now there's one huge problem. This bit of code runs every time that the worksheet is changed. So that means if this particular person on the aircraft carrier comes in and types 1, 2, 3, 4, the code runs. But the code runs every time that anything changes the worksheet. And so when my macro writes back to the worksheet, target.value equals new time, when my macro types in 1, 2, colon 3, 4, well, that changes the worksheet. And that's going to create a recursive loop where I change the worksheet, the macro runs again, the macro changes the worksheet. And because the macro changed the worksheet, the macro runs again, and it keeps running until we run out of stack space. So anytime that we're about to write back to the worksheet, we need to do this. Application.enable events is equal to false. That turns off the event handler, write the value back to the worksheet, and then right after we change the worksheet, we go back and say application.enable events equals true. All right, so there we have it. Let's go test this out. We'll come here and we'll type 1, 2, 3, and I mean, you don't even see the screen flash. There's nothing that happens to indicate that there was any kind of a change. Let's try a 4-digit number, 1, 2, 4, 5. The colon gets typed. If we would type a 1-digit number, it doesn't know what to do. If we would type a 5-digit number, it doesn't know what to do. Now we're getting the formats here because Excel is assuming that these are times like the ones above it. Okay, now he has to enter an aircraft number in column A, takeoff time and landing time in columns B and C. So how do we prevent the aircraft from getting colons inserted? Well, we're going to come back to our code, and right at the very beginning, we're going to add an if statement. Actually, better a select statement. Select case target.column. We want to see what column they just typed something in, and case 2, 3 will do everything here, and otherwise we won't do anything. So this bit of code now only runs when they type something in column 2 or column 3. We can come over here and type 1, 2, 3, 4, nothing happens. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, nothing happens. But if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, it automatically puts in the time. Great, amazing time saver, and you can think of all kinds of things that you can build into Excel here. Now it has to be, again, specific to this worksheet. It doesn't affect any other worksheets in this workbook. It affects only this worksheet. So this is one example. Another example, and this is what I think really is a very cool example. You might want to add this to some of your worksheets. On the selection change worksheet, you can just try this out. You choose any cell, and a set of crosshairs basically gets drawn in, highlighting everything back to the left and up in the color yellow. So it helps you to find the cursor. I mean, why didn't Microsoft build that in? That's a beautiful thing. Now, we're doing this using conditional formatting, so it'll override any conditional formatting in the worksheet. Let's go take a look at how it happens. We'll come back here, and since it's happening on the selection change worksheet, I want to double click selection change, and you can take a look at this code where it actually adds new format conditions and sets those up. So very cool little bit of code every time that we do a selection change. So that's another one of the items that we can capture. The other place where you'll add event macros is on this workbook object. This applies to the workbook. So from the left drop down, we choose workbook, and you can see that workbook open is the default. Many more events we can capture here, like right before we close or right before we print. Before we save, you can run a little bit of code. So like before print, you could log the place where the file was saved to the footer of the sheet or something like that. Every time they add a new sheet, we could run something. Workbook open is a very popular one. This will allow you to run a little bit of code, like maybe you have a large workbook and the top sheet is the instruction sheet. Well, you can make sure that every time that they open this workbook that we go to worksheets time log dot select, and then maybe a little message box. Read the instructions before proceeding. And so every time that this workbook gets open, it'll always return back to the time log sheet, and it'll pop up that message. Let's give it a little try here. So I'll save this. Lesson 42. We'll close it and then open it again. Comes right back here to the time log sheet, read the instructions before proceeding. And so you have a little bit of control there. When they open the workbook, it can reset back to some starting position. Just an amazing amount of uses for these event handlers. The thing that really just amazes me is that you don't even notice them running. They just run almost as quickly as you can enter numbers in Excel. The macro runs and returns control back to you. Just one of my favorite macros. Usually they're very small, but they can do extremely powerful things. Given the case here where the person had to enter colons, they could probably now enter data 4 times as fast because they don't have to reach back to the colons. So there you have it, lesson 42, event handlers. In the next part, we're going to talk about interacting with the person, interacting in Excel, including message boxes, input boxes, status bars, and so on. Thanks for watching this lesson. I hope you found this helpful.
Looking to advance your career by acquiring new skills? Tired of expensive off-site training programs? Wish you could learn from the best instructors in the industry? Look no further than Live Lessons. Self-paced, personal video instruction by the world's leading technology publishers. Each live lesson comes with a DVD featuring 3 to 4 hours of instructor-led classroom training, sample program code that allows you to work along with your personal instructor, and an example-rich study guide. Live lessons allow you to watch the entire course from start to finish, or navigate directly to any of the individual lessons. You'll literally watch over the shoulder of your instructor as he shows you how to build state-of-the-art applications. Live lessons, the power of the world's leading technology experts at your fingertips. To learn more, visit mylivelessons.com today.